Hello everyone, welcome back to another video in our Spring Boot with Angular tutorial series. In this series we are talking about how we can implement our Spring Boot application with the Angular frontend. And if you remember, in the previous video we have added a vehicle type to our vehicle entity. Now in this one we are going to be taking a look at how we can actually query those vehicles based on a type. For example, let's say we create 5 vehicles and 3 of them have a certain type and 2 of them have completely different types. And you provide a type 1 and you say, yeah, please find me all of the vehicles that are just with this type. So what you need to do there, how you can actually do that, that's something that we're going to be looking into in this video. To be able to do this querying, we need to generate this kind of hibernate metamodel. So for the specifications that you can create, so for the queries that you can create, you need some attributes. Like you, for example, need to say vehicle type or vehicle ID or whatever, any of the attributes of the entity. And you can of course use strings, you can hard code that, but then sometimes later you rename it from vehicle type to just type or something like that. Then you need to update all of the places where you have used this query, where you have used this attribute. To get around that, we can actually auto-generate some classes, some Java classes, which contain all of these attributes, which contain the names of them and everything nice like that. So we are going to be taking a look at first how we can do that. Before we start with that, we have to go to our main build Gradle file and add this two properties so that we are able to run Gradle build later on. After you have done that, you want to go to the build Gradle file of the backend module and you want to add this annotation processor. So this is what enables us to create those generated files. And it's also nice that you specify where you want to generate them. So you want to create a source/generated/Java folder where they will be placed. And in order to execute this, so to run this command, you need to run the Gradle task clean build or build. So in the terminal, you can type, actually, let me just type it out. So you can run the Gradle command to build your project. So this will run the clean build, it will exclude the test and it will exclude the check. So after you have done that, you should be able to see a generated folder here with the Java package inside and all of the entities with the properties that they have. So this is, for example, our distributed entity. You can see that we have the ID, the modified timestamp, created timestamp, and so on. Same for the vehicle, same for the vehicle type, named entity, and so on. So all of these nice things are created. Now the next thing is our specifications. We want to be able to build some specifications where we can say, select me all of the vehicles based on the type, select me all of the vehicles based off the created timestamp, give me all of the vehicles modified since some timestamp and stuff like that. To do that, we need to use our JPA repository, and before we can do that, we need to modify our application configuration. We need to say what's our repository base class, and it's our distributed repository impulse. So this is what you need to add here. After you have done that, we can take a look at the rest of the changes. Let's take a look at our distributed repository. So this is the first place where we want to go. Here we have created 2 methods. One is find all modified since, where we are providing the local date time. And the other one is find all with some specification. So this specification can be anything that you want. So let's take a look at how we implement this one. If we jump to the distributed repository implementation class, you can see that find all modified since is taking in the timestamp, and we are calling this method here to create a specification where we say to the criteria builder, yeah, I'm interested in all of the entities that have greater than or equal to, and the property is modified. So this modified is just this modified timestamp from the distributed entity. So we're using root to get that property, and we are comparing it. So is it greater than or equal to the timestamp that we forwarded? So this is really simple specification where you can fetch all of the entities that have been modified since this timestamp. And for the other method that we had where we're passing in the specification, it's exactly the same. We're just using find all with the specification. If you're interested how this works, you can actually take a look at this JPA specification executor. This is what helps us to execute these commands. Great. Now for us to be able to execute this, I've just decided to do some tests. Instead of actually building the front-end part of it, I just created vehicle service integration. So in the vehicle service integration test, I've done some modifications. So let me just get rid of this unused imports, and let's take a look at the tests that I have. I had to modify some of them because now our vehicles need to have a type. This is something that we did in the previous tutorial, but we didn't actually update the test, so I had to do it now. And also in the application property file of the test, I needed to disable the Liquibase, and I've added these two lines so that we are able to see the SQL logs. So now let's take a look at our vehicle service integration test. After we have auto-wired the type service, so the vehicle type service and the vehicle repository, which we'll be using later on. Before each of the tests, we create a vehicle type that we can set to our vehicle so that all of our checks still work. And now let's see how we can find all vehicles modified since some timestamp. We create a vehicle here, one with some type, and we then so this is actually just our DTO, and then we set the numbers here. So vehicle 1, and we save it. Then we have vehicle 2, and then we save it, but also store it in this variable. Then we have vehicle 3, and we also save it. Then to our list endpoint, where we are listing all of them, we verify that all 3 are created, and they are. We are extracting the number and verifying that these 3 are contained. Now, before we modify the second vehicle, we just remember the current timestamp, and then we do the modification on the vehicle. So after we have saved it here, the modification timestamp on this vehicle will change, so it will be greater than this one. And then when we execute find all modified since, so from the repository, you can of course move this to the service class and then have access to the repository there instead of auto-wiring the repository directly. But yeah, I just did it like this, so it doesn't really matter. What we are expecting here is that in this result, we have 1. So the size is 1 because we are just expecting this vehicle, and we are verifying the number is equal to the vehicle 2 number. Perfect. Now let's see how we can find vehicle by type. Here I'll take a look at the specification a bit later. So here we have one type, we have the second type, we save both of them, and then we create 2 vehicles. Vehicle 1 has type 1 and vehicle 2 has type 2. Then if we do a search for so we are using our type 1 ID, and here we're using type 2 ID. In the result 1, we are expecting just one result, and it should be vehicle 1. And in the result 2, we are expecting also just one, and it should be vehicle 2. And that's exactly what's happening. And if we actually look how we implemented this, so if we jump to the vehicle repository, we have created this specs class. So it's just the class inside of the vehicle repository interface, where we can put our specifications that are only specific to a vehicle. In our case, we are searching by a vehicle type, so we are passing in the vehicle type ID, and to the criteria builder, we're saying, please check if these 2 properties are equal. So if we do this, it's better to see it. So if root get vehicle type, so vehicle type, and then from the vehicle type get the vehicle ID is equal to whatever we passed in, that's our check that's being executed. So this is actually quite simple and quite easy and nice way to do queries on our entities. You can, of course, if you take a look at this metamodel, you can see all of the properties and all of the attributes that we have here, and you can make queries for all of them basically any way you want, and verifying if the integration test is always nice. So that would be everything. I think I covered all of the changes that I had. Hopefully I did not miss anything, and if I did, please do let me know and I will try to explain it. And if you like this video, please do like it and subscribe to my channel for more exciting videos like this. So I will see you in the next one.